Alright guys, Berachain Proof of Liquidity is available for ecosystem apps, and today I'm going to show you 6 different stablecoin yield opportunities to earn some BGT or IBGT with. Yeah, there are plenty of other strategies as well. In fact, I could have a list of many other stablecoin farms that offer even 20% plus. Maybe I'll put a list of them on Twitter sometime, but today I want to just show you 6 that you could probably get involved with right away and offer pretty good APRs, double digits across the board for all of them in the form of BGT. Now, I'd like to think that many of you watching have a good idea of what BGT is, but if you don't, BGT is a native governance token of Berachain. It's a token that can only be earned, not bought, and the way to earn it is through providing liquidity. It comes from the chain's native inflation, which is distributed by validators into these different vaults that validators can choose. Now, ecosystem protocols can bribe for these emissions or add incentives to validators to basically attract emissions to their own vaults, and that's essentially the game that many protocols are playing right now in order to attract BGT emissions to their own vaults. And so right now we're seeing a bunch of these different protocols offer pretty good incentives. Now right now you can see that there's around $1 million in active incentives right now, and these are basically incentives that protocols or apps or asset issuers have basically provided to validators to be like, hey, come look at me, look at my vault, why don't you send a little bit of BGT to us? And right now we're seeing a bunch of these different protocols do this, and therefore validators are like, hey, look, there's some free money on the table, we're going to take it, and send emissions or send BGT as part of their cutting boards to these different vaults. Now the first one on the list is of course Olympus. Now Olympus are a monster. They have a massive treasury, a huge treasury, and they're using it to their advantage. They're offering some pretty good bribes compared to everyone else, and therefore are currently able to capture 20% of all of the BGT emissions right now. And this has resulted in an APR of over 40%. In fact, if you go to infrared where you can earn IBGT, this is actually a little bit higher. Now you'll notice at the same time there's already $100 million deposited in here, a colossal amount, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I think one of the beauties of is that it's generally a stable-ish asset. Yeah, there is volatility, but it's less volatility than other assets because of the way that works anyway. So I did actually write a tweet about this yesterday, and kind of just looking at kind of how much BGT is emitted every day and kind of what this could look like as well. I mean, at 27% of the total control of BGT, this is looking at being $100 million of BGT incentives per year. It would a little bit lower than that right now. So I think actually we'll still see the APR increase a little bit from 42%. You know, I still believe that at the current levels of TVL, we should be able to see this go to maybe 60%. But of course, we'll have to wait and see kind of how the emissions change. And the most important thing is to see what this BGT capture value looks like as well. So keep an eye out on that. But I think for the moment, this is something that I personally have deposited some funds in. No financial advice, of course. Of course, OHM is a volatile asset, so please bear that in mind. It's not that volatile though, but it's still a little volatile. So yeah, bear that in mind. But yeah, I think for the moment, I'm going to be enjoying this one. Next one is through Avalon. And Avalon are an asset issuer who issued this stablecoin called USDa. It's actually involved with Bitcoin through this kind of C DeFi lending market that they have, where you can actually get USDa from your Bitcoin. It's on Berachain as well. They're actually integrated with Layer 0, so you can bridge it to a bunch of different chains. And they've basically got this reward vault for USDa and sUSDa, staked USDa, which is earning around about 6% APR. Now again, this is on Kodiak, so you can basically deposit some assets into this pool. You can get USDa from any chain like Ethereum or BSC. You can even buy it on Berachain, although I don't think there's as much liquidity on Berachain just yet. The beauty of this pool right now is that they're capturing just under 3% of the total BGT capture, and therefore offering an APR of 25%. There isn't an infrared vault for this just yet. I'm assuming there probably will be soon, and when that does come, you know, perhaps this will increase to maybe 30%. You can see that yeah, some of these different validators like Kodiak are currently streaming emissions to this specific vault. So yeah, keep an eye on this one. I think 20% on stable asset exposure is pretty nice. Again, I think this one is probably one that could increase a little bit just based on the BGT capture rate, and based on just kind of how little there is staked right now in this. But yeah, I think Avalon's another one that you can enjoy right now. Next up, we'll look at one that's a little bit more spicy. This is called USDBR and paired with Honey. This is a stablecoin, an algorithmic stablecoin from the Gnome Protocol. Some of you will be familiar with it. I think you should have a read of the documentation to really appreciate how USDBR remains at peg. You know, there are tons and tons of algorithmic stablecoins that have done well, and maybe some that haven't done well in the past. But yeah, please be aware of kind of the mechanics here, because this is, I'd say, a lot more risky than some of the other strategies that we've just gone through. That's probably resulting in this kind of 131% APR that you can see on screen right now. So yeah, do some research, do some reading on Gnome. But yeah, again, just another one, stable pair, 130%. Might be interesting for some of you. Right. Next up, we're going to look at PayPal USD or BYUSD and Honey. This is one that has been around from the very beginning of Berachain with 500 million in TVL, and you can see that it's still earning 14%, which I think is actually pretty good. Now, if you go on infrared, this is going to be even a little bit higher, maybe closer to 16%, which, yeah, again, I think is actually very good. Now, I am expecting potentially some of this TVL to leave. And I think part of the reason is because there will be a bunch of other stablecoin vaults in the ecosystem as a whole, and I think they could be reasonably attractive to deposit in. And so maybe we see a little bit leave, maybe we don't. I think it's just something that I will be watching. But I think as long as this offers a yield around 15%, it's pretty attractive to me, and that's because you've got Honey, which I think is a huge stablecoin now, and PayPal USD, which again also a huge stablecoin. So tons of liquidity as well available. Yeah, I think yeah, because of this, I think this one's a good one to just keep an eye out on, and maybe this is one that you use for kind of using as little risk as possible. Another one being USDC Honey, very similar principle here. It's slightly lower APR, and so I think, for me anyway, I think I personally, and again, no financial advice, I can take the risk a little bit more with something like PYUSD over USDC, and so I definitely, for me anyway, go for the higher yielding one. But yeah, just another one there available. And the last one that we'll talk about actually doesn't have emissions going to it yet, but I think will do very soon. And this is Reservoir's rUSD paired with Honey. Again, this is a Kodiak pool, and right now they don't have any BGT capture, but I suspect that this will change fairly quickly. And that's because Reservoir, I believe, or maybe someone else, has actually added a bunch of incentives to this vault already. They've added around $30,000 of incentives, and so I think eventually there will come a point where a validator will end up pointing emissions. You know, they are paying a rate of around $1 per BGT, and so if we're looking at like a 7 or 8x multiplier on that, you know, potentially there's going to be, you know, over $100,000 of emissions coming to this pool. And so yeah, I think that will end up resulting in some pretty good APR. This is the alpha that I have for this video. Keep an eye out on this vault for sure. Now, whilst I was just filming this video, I did actually just think of one more, and so we will just put this in right at the end. This one is lending Nectar on Euler, and right now this is paying 27% APY. The vast majority of this is coming from pollen rewards, which it seems to be ending towards the end of April. So this will be a reward that you don't get immediately like some of the others in this strategy, but rather one that you get in around about a month's time. I believe the rewards are paying you at a pollen FDV of around $42 million as well. So if the price goes higher, that will obviously result in, you know, a little bit more rewards. But yeah, I think 27% like single-sided lending, pretty good in my opinion. So yeah, I think with that, that's pretty much it. That's 7 different strategies for you that range between, you know, on the low side 12%, on the high side 130%. Do your own research with them. Let me know which ones you like. Perhaps I've missed a few as well. There are many others I can think of off the top of my head, but I don't want this video to be too long. I just wanted to show you a bunch of different strategies that you could do right now. I'll do another video, I'll film one right now actually, on what you could do with Bitcoin, what you could do with ETH, and maybe what you can do with Bera as well. So stay tuned for that. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with another video in due time.